Hello and welcome back, YouTube. Oh, my throat is a little scratchy today. So, I didn't get a lot of sleep, but I felt like I got really deep sleep. And I probably should have just tried to get back to sleep, but I woke up to so many messages waiting for me on my phone. What the fuck? Wow. Some homeless person left their stolen shopping cart full of garbage blocking the alley. Not cool. Not cool at all. By the way, it's Thursday night, June 15th. 9:07 p.m. Still 2023. I am groggy and oh god, I thought for just a second I was hearing the Revolting Cocks Do You Think I'm Sexy on KWSS, because that seems like something KWSS would actually play, but it's something else. I've totally got that song stuck in my head after listening to it a couple of times, adding it to my karaoke library. I don't know what this is off the top of my head, but I'm digging it. Nice. This sounds like something I would have put in a mixtape for somebody back in the 90s as a warning. Oh, goodness. So I'm headed to Roadrunner to meet the woman that I've mentioned a few times that I've been talking to about meeting over there. I do think, well, if memory serves, they cut their karaoke out kind of early there. So, unless me getting lucky is on the agenda, which I am not really expecting. It would be awesome if it happens, but I'm not particularly interested in the woman I'm meeting. So, and I don't think she's particularly interested in me. Although the so-called girlfriend has constantly mentioned that she thinks that she's interested in me. And has constantly mentioned that she thinks that there's something going on with us. So maybe she's reading something into it that I'm not. But the part of that equation, the so-called girlfriend doesn't really doesn't seem to realize is I really don't find that woman all that attractive. So well, the Ethiopian restaurant formerly known as the Break Room seems to be popping right now. That's unexpected. Yeah, I've been noticing multiple Ethiopian restaurants popping up around the East Valley, which is very surprising to me. Which kind of makes me wonder if that's just sort of an increase in African population, and particularly Ethiopian population, or if that's just a trend that I am not privy to. I tried Ethiopian once, an Ethiopian restaurant. Not an Ethiopian woman. I should clarify that right now. Yeah, I've tried several African American women. Never actually hooked up with an African woman. Just to clarify that. But anyway, no, it was a time when I was dating a white woman, actually. And she took me out to an Ethiopian restaurant. And I'm trying to remember exactly who it was I was dating at the time. Oh, I love this song. I should so sing this tonight. I haven't sang any OLP in a long time. You need to know you're nothing safe about it. You need to know you need to know that I'll behave in my hand, holding you down, watching you scream, silent or loud. Oh, and of course the radio signal's crapping out. This is one of those songs I love singing, but I rarely get a good crowd response to it. It's not a really energetic song, and not a lot of people know it, as it comes in like crap on the radio. I think I'm on what KWSS calls their West Valley frequency, and I don't know what their East Valley frequency even is. Damn, I was all getting into that song too. Now, the one song I can sing by Our Lady Peace that usually does get a good crowd response is Superman's Dead. Like, I think that was the one song by them that was successful enough in the United States, because that's me getting fully Canadian again. Not that I'm Canadian, to clarify that. But I have two interesting ties to Canadian culture and Canadian music, which I don't, I think I've talked about it a bit on my blog, but what the heck, bring it up again. When I was a teenager, and of course was very into music, but had very limited opportunities to listen to stuff because it was just very much pre-internet, at least pre-music on the internet. I did have a CompuServe account back then. And it was also I also lived in Douglas, Wyoming for most of my time, where there's just not a whole lot of media options and places to explore new music. But one outlet I had for exploring new music that most of my friends didn't have was that my best friend, his name was Theron, lived with his grandparents, and his grandparents had one of those big satellite dishes that were common in rural areas back then that had an antenna rotor on it, so you could aim it at different satellites. But his grandparents were somewhere between really poor and really cheap, which are not the same thing, but they were a fun combination of both. I mean, they were obviously not really, really poor because they had the satellite system. But I know they weren't exactly swimming in wealth either. But they were definitely really cheap. And I've lost that signal completely. Anyway, they absolutely refused to pay for a descrambler. And a lot of their stance on that was when they bought that satellite system, there wasn't much of anything that was scrambled. You could watch a lot of cable channels and a lot of what were considered, pay premium channels back then, like HBO and Cinemax. I think Cinemax still existed back then. You could watch those channels if you had the right kind of satellite without any scrambling or paying to watch them. That was kind of the appeal of people getting those kind of satellites back in the day, because they were very expensive. And then somewhere around the late 80s, just American satellites just started scrambling everything. I mean, even ABC, CBS, and NBC affiliates that had their signals on satellite for transmission and rural cable systems started scrambling. Like everything on American satellites started scrambling. And interestingly enough, Canadian satellites didn't seem to scramble anything. But if you were watching Canadian satellites, you were getting Canadian content. And that's my first tie to Canada. Not actually going to Canada, but spending a lot of time at my friend Theron's place, or more accurately, his grandparents' place, with Canadian satellite TV, which was mostly just transmissions of Canadian broadcast and network feeds and Canadian cable TV. And interestingly enough, like back in the day, the way they did analog satellites like that is there would be audio sidebands. And on a lot of those audio sidebands on the Canadian satellites, there were two of them, Canadian radio stations. So Theron and I were listening to a lot of Canadian radio stations, and we were listening to, and watching, because we couldn't get MTV. MTV was scrambled, and we couldn't get VH1. VH1 was scrambled, but we could get Much Music, which is kind of the Canadian MTV. And then we were also able to get Musique Plus, which was basically the same thing, but French language. And if you're wondering, well, why would you want to listen to French language? Because 90% of the music that was on Musique Plus, I mean, yeah, when the VJs came on, they were speaking in French, and most of the commercials were in French. But when the music came on, 90% of the time it was in English, and then 5% of that 10% of the time that it was in French, the music was cool anyway. So consequently, at that age, I listened to a lot of Canadian music. Now, granted, that was before Our Lady Peace. But apparently that influenced my taste in music, particularly in rock music and alternative music, enough that for some reason, just through the 90s, when I'm living in Phoenix and had no real ties to anything Canadian, for some reason, just Canadian bands, every time I start listening to a Canadian band in a band I start getting all into, I would find out later, oh, they're Canadian. Well, that must be why I like them so damn much. And I could give several examples, but I think the most notable ones would be Our Lady Peace, Moist, and the Tragically Hip. Especially when you consider that the Tragically Hip and Moist are virtually unknown in the United States, especially compared to Canada. But for whatever reason, those are both bands I got turned on to that I just got into. And then there's hardly anybody here. My last Canadian connection was that I married a French-Canadian woman. And she always tripped out on how much I was into Canadian music. Anyway, Our Lady Peace, one of my favorite bands, and seen them live twice. Love singing their stuff. I'm totally in the mood to go sing some of their stuff. I know I was talking about some other stuff. I ain't got time to draw any conclusions on it. I'm at the Roadrunner. Thanks for watching, and I should shoot some video on the way back home, or wherever I go to after I leave here. Unless, of course, there's companionship in the car. That was actually a lot of fun. I'm just rolling out of the Roadrunner. They killed the karaoke right around midnight, and there's nobody else that I really feel like hanging out with there. The friend that I came here to meet, she left like an hour ago. So, and it's all right. I had a good time talking with her, but yeah, I'm not that interested in her. And the more I talk to her, the less interested I become. Oh, and I was right. She is younger than me. She's quite a bit younger than me. And when I look at her, I think she's way older, and that's not a good sign. In fact, I think she said her 48th birthday is coming up, and I'm thinking, damn, I've almost got 5 years on you, and when I look at you, I see an older woman. Yikes! I mean, I didn't say that to her. That's kind of what I was thinking. So yeah, it's still Friday night. Or I'm sorry, it's still Thursday night. Technically Friday morning, 12:16 a.m. and still haven't made it to get groceries, which absolutely sucks because I'm completely out of. Well, I think the guy was on an electric scooter and he had no headlight. Yikes. Yeah, I'm still bread. I think bread is the essential that I'm missing, because there's so many things I could do if I just had some bread, or in the alternative, perhaps some tortillas. But I don't have either of those things. So God, part of me wants to just keep bar hopping and keep looking for love in all the wrong places, but I'm not sure how many hours of sleep I got. I did definitely get some deep sleep, but I feel like I only got maybe I don't know, I'm trying to think. Like, I woke up, it was probably a little bit after 8, and I'm not sure what time I managed to get to sleep, but I know I was late getting to bed because I stopped by that that warehouse staffing agency, and that went very well. That was definitely worth my while. I mean, I was literally offered 2 other jobs, both of which that maybe could improve my life, maybe not. But neither of which I felt ready to commit to, at least not without talking to Victoria first. And I totally... Oh no, I got it right. It's like, I don't know why. Half the time I want to call her Veronica. Her name is Victoria, which is a name I shouldn't struggle with since it's my older daughter's middle name. It's what her mother actually wanted to name her, and I was absolutely determined that if I ever had a first daughter, I was going to name her Allison, which goes back to this joke I made on the air when I worked at KUKQ. I'm sure I've told this story before. I don't feel like trying to sort it out because I'm kind of tired. And anyway, it was a punny joke, as what would be short for Allison would be Al, and at the time I was working with a woman named Allison Strong, who half the time went by Al. And I don't remember how it all went down. It was very live and off the cuff, but I said something along the lines that we were talking about broadcasters using their real names and why radio personalities use air names versus their real names, and how, like, well, I don't know about most, but there's a theory that, a lot of broadcasters do it so as to maintain can I say that word? Anonymity. To maintain anonymity and not have people being able to look up their real names. Which I guess I'm kind of doing now, because I don't post my real name on this YouTube channel very often. And I'm not going to say it right now. You're waiting for that. Actually, I was getting ready to say it. Maybe I am. Maybe you're getting a name reveal. Anyway, while we were on the air, I said I said that the main reason I didn't use my real last name, when I first went on the air, I intended to use my real last name, and then the guy who introduced me for my very first air shift messed up my name because he had heard a nickname that people commonly used for me back in the mid-'80s. And I just laughed my ass off and ran with it. I'm like, no, I think you just gave me an air name. I'm gonna stick with it. And that air name was Mahoney, which rhymes with my last name. And I just laughed. He says, "That's not your name." I'm like, "No." Like, "Oh, I heard them calling you Mahoney." I'm like, "Yeah, they've been calling me Mahoney since the first Police Academy movie came out. Because nobody can pronounce my real last name." So anyway, like fast forward from 1985 to, I want to say, 1995, and I'm on the air at KUKQ with Allison Strong, who just often just went as Al, and oh my God, I forget the name of the other guy. I've heard he's still running a radio station in Tucson. I should hit him up and get a job. But anyway, and we're talking about real names. She said that was her real name, that Strong was her real last name. And I said, well, I've just been going by Dan for a long time, and it's the joke is that it's short for Dan Daniels, but actually I was called Dan before Dan Daniels ever happened. And it's mostly just because nobody can spell or pronounce my real name. And then I said what it was, and she goes, like alimony. I said, yeah, if we got married, your name would be alimony. Which at the moment doesn't sound that funny, but it was very funny and awkward at the time. And I told her, it's like, oh my God, that's hysterical. I said, if I ever have a daughter, I'm naming her after you, so she can be alimony. And I did. So I'll true to my word on that. Not that I've seen or heard from Allison Strong since I want to say probably 1996. I feel like I should be doing something about my lack of food right now, but at 12:21 a.m. I don't know what that would be, because most everything is closed. Whoa, there's a vehicle coming out of... Oh, just turned right. Coming out of the Arcadia Crossing Shopping Center parking lot. Oh, never mind. No, they were on 46th Street. I'm turning into the Arcadia Crossing Shopping Center parking lot, which I didn't mean to do. I was thinking this was 44th Street. I was paying attention to the vehicle with no headlights on, just turned right from 46th Street and went eastbound down Thomas. Every night. There is not a night that I drive that I don't see somebody driving with their headlights off. It's absolutely insane. I don't know why turning on the headlights is such a difficult thing to do for people, but yeah, that just happened. Wow, there's a dispensary right there on the right. Can y'all see that? No, it's not in the Yelo Dispensary. I think that building used to be a mattress firm. At one point in time, there were 3 mattress firm locations within a half mile on this road. So I think that was the first one to shut down. And now I don't think there's a single mattress firm location on this part of Thomas. I think they've all become different things. But wow, that one's a dispensary now. I have yet to buy legal weed from a dispensary, and I used to be such a pothead in the 90s. And that was like always my dream for... Like, God, won't it be great when weed was legal and we can just go to the store and buy it? And now there's stores where I can buy it, and I absolutely don't. I mean, I periodically smoke it if I'm around friends that smoke it, but it's not something I spend my money on. And when I do smoke with my friends, I never smoke much. I wonder if that security guard is still here. He's probably not working here this late. I was totally not meaning to turn this way. I just thought I was turning into a left turn lane for 44th Street. And once I was in that lane, I didn't think it was a good idea to duck back into traffic. Those shorts of that security guy got quite a few views between both videos, the one that's stabilized and the one that isn't stabilized, which both have different titles. About 2,000 views, which granted isn't a lot for YouTube, but it's a lot for my YouTube channel. And then the actual full-length video, I think it got about, they said about 80 views, which again is nothing for YouTube, but a lot for my YouTube channel. I was totally going to contact their office, but the bottom line is I've had better things to do. But hey, it was fun to leave a extremely negative review on Google, and it was fun talking about that and showing that stuff to Katrina, because one of her jobs that she has is doing security, not that kind of security, but doing security mostly for events and concerts and stuff. Now, this driveway to the right seems to be the border between security provided by security that it's under contract with, security that is under contract with the Arcadia Crossing Shopping Center, which is what that guy was. And I did kind of mention in the video that I thought he was security for Fry's, and I didn't think that. I just kind of misstated that he was security for Fry's. He was definitely security for Arcadia Crossing, for the parking lot. Fry's actually had a uniformed police officer, Phoenix police officer, doing their security. And that guy was cool. I had a great conversation with him. I'm kind of looking for the nut job that got me a criminal charge, which, if you haven't seen the video, I showed up for court literally a month early. I thought my hearing was June 14th or 14th, June 14th, and turns out it was July 14th, which something tells me that I've inadvertently already waived my right to a speedy trial. And I'm kind of thinking how I might have done that. My friend said she was going over to Wander Inn. I think I'm going to go over there and see if she's there. I should really go home and get some sleep, but I just don't feel like going home yet. Yeah, I do remember my court order to show up for my initial appearance. It did say something about whoa. That guy just cut straight across. Well, I had a left arrow and he had a don't walk sign and a red light. Now, I don't think that was technically a motorcycle. I think that was an e-bike, but whatever. Definitely, I had the right of way. So, yeah, I do remember that court order said something about any pre-trial motions needed to be filed before my initial appearance date, which I think is kind of fucked up, because it's at your initial appearance date that they appoint you an attorney if they're going to give you a public defender, which it's kind of fucked up to assume that somebody, until they get appointed an attorney, would know what motions to file. I still haven't met my attorney, but certainly an appropriate motion to file in my situation would be a request for a speedy trial, and maybe I should file that. Although I don't think I can file that, because at this point I have an attorney. I should really call that attorney and tell him I want to invoke my right to a speedy trial. See where that goes. I still haven't called him, and I was told when I had that bizarre elevator ride in the elevator that could potentially trap me, that I was told that I needed to call him if I want an appointment, and I really should do that. Anyway, I'm at Wander Inn. I'm going to go inside and see if Chrissy with a K is still here.